Picture this, a trap card that is just a complete board wipe nuke that banishes every single monster on the field other than, of course, your gigantic boss monster. It then proceeds to make your gigantic boss monster completely immune to all card effects, and this trap card is recyclable that will keep coming back from the graveyard every time you synchro summon, and of course is now searchable off of a skill, and thanks to that skill, it's also a trap card that you can use on the turn you set it. Konami wouldn't release a trap card like this, right? That'd be completely ridiculous. Oh, and in case that wasn't enough, the R-Type that got that trap card also just got 2 crazy brand new boss monsters. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently only about 50% of people watching this or even subscribe to the channel, yet all of you returning viewers who have seen my content before. So if you find yourself keep come back to the channel and see more content just like this in the future, remember to hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. Also, I do plan to have a Time Lord video out either today or later today or tomorrow, so if you're interested in seeing that, remember to like and subscribe, and yeah, let's get into the deck list. So Resonators have received quite a lot of absolutely crazy support. We've gotten 2 brand new cards and a skill that lets you search for one of the most powerful cards in all of Duel Links, Red Rain. This card is disgusting. Basically, if you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, you can banish all monsters on the field, which includes yours by the way, except the monsters with the highest level. Also, the remaining face-up monsters on the field are unaffected by other card effects except their own until the end of this turn. So this is a just absolute board wipe, getting rid of whatever your opponent's got on the field and leaving your gigantic boss monster just completely immune to all card effects for the rest of the turn. Absolutely disgusting of a trap card. Alright, if a Dark Dragon type Synchro monster is Synchro summoned to your field while this card's in the graveyard, you can just add this card back to your hand. So basically, we'll talk about how the skill gets searched for this in just a second, but basically, not only is this searchable off of a skill, it is now also just recyclable. So you only need 1 copy of this card, and you just keep using it over and over and over again. But spoiler alert, if you resolve this thing once, most of the time, your opponent's just going to lose the game anyway. Then we have the brand new boss monster for the deck list, that being Tyrant, Red Dragon, Archfiend. This card takes 2 tuners plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters. Must be synchro summoned and can only special summon by the ways. You can use each effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can destroy all other cards on the field. Also, for the rest of this turn, other monsters you control cannot attack. So keep in mind, this destroys all other cards on the field, not just monsters. This thing will destroy back row as well. So your opponent has a full field covering all 6 slots, this thing activates, boom, they're all gone. Absolutely nutty of an effect. Alright, second effect. During either player's battle phase, when a spell trap card is activated, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. If you do that, this card gains 500 attack. So honestly, the second effect to this card, I'm yet to even use it ever, as most of the time you've already board nuked your opponent anyway, so they shouldn't have any back row up. And even if they do, nobody runs battle traps anyway, so they probably already used it before this effect's going to be even usable anyway, so second effect doesn't really matter, but the first effect is absolutely disgusting. I just realised I forgot one of the most important cards in the deck list, well, probably the most important of the brand new cards other than the trap card. Scarlight, Red Dragon, Archfiend is also new to this deck list. This card is basically the replacement for your standard RDA, as it is treated as Red Dragon Archfiend when on the field or in the graveyard, so basically you don't need the old RDA anymore. This retrain is just way goddamn better. Alright, once per turn you can destroy as many special summon monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card, other than this card. Then inflict 250 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. So unlike the previous version of RDA, this card's actually useful, as it will nuke the whole field. It does nuke your own field, but it doesn't really matter too much. It's in Duel Links. Basically, if you're nuking your own field, which by the way, when this thing's on the field, will generally have 2 tuners next to it, meaning you're going to do at least 500 damage from your field, and if you do 500 damage on your opponents as well, that's just lethal damage with this card alone. So this card can sneak out a few wins, and it's also integral to be able to use your skill. The skill is called Roaring Soul, and it basically has 3 effects. The first one is by sending 1 Fiend monster from your hand and 1 Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard, you can search for 1 level 4 Fire Fiend type monster and add it to your hand, which is basically going to be your copy of a Red Sprinter, which is your starter for the deck list and ends on full combo. Alright, then we have 2 effects to choose from. So one of them is going to be useful and the other one is nowhere near as useful, but it does kind of exist. Alright, so you can only use one of these effects per turn. If you control Red Dragon Archfiend, return one Fiend-type monster on your field and one in your hand to your deck, then set one Red Rain to your field from your deck. So this just searches for your Red Rain. So basically this means if you ever open two Fiend-type monsters, you have full combo. No matter what Fiend they are, you'll have full combo. Because you need one Fiend to be able to search for your starter, and you need one Fiend to be able to search for your Red Rain. That's basically how this deck list will work. Then we have a second effect we can choose from, but you're basically never going to choose this one as searching for Red Rain is way more important. During this turn, defense position resonating monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So the main reason obviously for this is because a lot of your monsters, as you know, they like to nuke your own field. So in doing this, you'll be able to protect yourself from your own board nukes and potentially go into more synchro climbing after using this card's effect. Alright, now let's talk ratios. So the rest of this deck list, you guys probably know what most of the card effects in here do, but you're probably not sure why I'm running a particular certain card in here, or why I'm running a certain amount of cards in here. So the reason I'm running one copy of Crimson and 3 copies of your Red Resonator is basically, this Crimson, you only ever need one copy, as you're going to be dumping it with your skill anyway, so you're going to be searching this card whenever you like, and you only ever need one copy to search off of your, or summon off of your Red Sprinter, and summon off of your Red Rising, as you can just loop this card from the graveyard. You don't need more than one copy, might as well just run some back row instead. The reason I'm running 3 Red Resonator though, is because this card, when it's on the field, will summon 2 Resonators from the deck, so you always want to have at least 2 Resonators in the deck. So if you happen to open a copy of one of your Red Resonators and you are only running 2 copies, all of a sudden, you just screwed yourself, especially considering with your skill, you're probably going to be discarding one of these Resonators from your hand to be able to use it, so you just won't be able to summon out a second Resonator, meaning you actually just limit the amount of stuff you can summon from your extra deck quite a lot. So that's why I'm running 3 of this guy and 1 of this. Then we have your level 4 monsters. So obviously you're running Wildwind, as you guys know, it's a crazy extender. Sending it to the graveyard off your skill means you have follow-up plays on your future turns because you can search for things like your Red Resonators. It's obviously a crazy card, we're running it at 3. Then we're running 3 copies of Red Sprinter. Honestly, I think you could probably run this card at 2, but you need at least 2 copies, as obviously you need it for your skill, it's searchable off your skill, and if you happen to open one of these cards, you still want the opportunity to use your skill to search for one, so it's good to run at least 2. So that's my sort of logic there. But if you want to run a third one, it is a good follow-up play anyway, so... But if you want to cut this for like a Skull Meister, for example, I don't mind this either, it's probably the same sort of stuff. Speaking of which, we're also running Skull Meister. Now, if you guys haven't seen this hand trap before, basically, during my opponent's turn, or during any player's turn, when a card or effect is activated in my opponent's graveyard, I can activate this to negate the effect, which is a really powerful effect against decks like Phantom Knight, or even something like Raid Raptor, which have sort of prominent graveyard effects, and can sort of just end the duel as soon as you activate it. So, it's a really nice hand trap to have, and it basically fills the 2 requirements we need for this deck list. Level 4 monsters for your Red Resonator, so you have follow-up plays, and Fiend monsters, because as long as you have 12 monsters in the deck list, it means you're probably going to have like an 84% chance or a 90% chance going second of opening 2 Fiend monsters, which, like I said during the skill portion, is just full combo. So 12 is a good ratio of monsters to have in this deck list, and making sure they're all Fiends means you're going to be basically guaranteed to open your full combo. Then we have your back row ratios, which honestly, you can run whatever you like in this back row area here. You just need 1 copy of Red Rain, and the rest of this sort of deck list can be whatever you like. I'm currently running a shit ton of back row removal, as for some reason, the amount of people playing just a lot of back row at the moment is ridiculous, especially with Dark Magician being so popular, so I'm just running as much back row removal as I can, so you don't have to run this much back row if you like. If you want to run 3 copies of Book of Moon, for example, or run some extra trap cards, feel free to do so. You can even actually run Solemn Judgment in this deck, or Solemn Scolding in this deck list, since this does actually gain life points quite often, so kind of an interesting play there. Make sure not to run Ice Dragon's Prison in this deck, because your skill locks you out of special summoning, so yeah, you can't summon most monsters from your opponent's graveyard, so you can't actually use this trap card, so keep that in mind. But in general, I'm just running a bunch of back row removal because everyone's playing so much back row right now. Alright, I've been talking too much about this deck list, so without further ado, let's just jump into some gameplay. Alright, so today I have 5 replays to share with you guys, all of which are actually pretty decent today, surprisingly considering the season just reset and we're currently in Platinum, since yeah, obviously everyone's reset down to Platinum. So surprisingly, despite the rank being technically lower than yesterday, these replays are actually really good. There's a couple of Phantom Knight ones, I know there's a Mech Knight one, so there's some top tier deck lists in here, so hopefully it's a very good showing of how good this deck can be. I think you guys will enjoy some of these replays too. Alright. Yeah, because this deck list feels absolutely absurd. It's mostly just the trap card. For some reason, I don't understand. This trap card is just ridiculous. If your opponent doesn't draw MST turn 1, they're just really going to struggle to win the game. Entire field banish in combination with a monster that's immune to every card effect is crazy. Alright, so first of all, activate our skill, making sure to send the Crimson Resonator to the graveyard and discarding our Wildwind. Searching for our Sprinter, so we can summon Sprinter, bring back the Tuner, go into our Red Rising, making sure to put it in the extra monster zone, very important because you need all 3 zones. Summon the Tuner, he's going to bring out 2 Tuners from deck, gain some life points. Then the 3 cards on field, we're going to go into our Tyrant. Now normally you wouldn't go into Tyrant because unfortunately, because of how the skill works, you need to specifically go into a copy of your Scarlight, Red Dragon, Archfiend to be able to use the skill to search for your Red Rain. In this case, I happened to already open it, so I was like, might as well summon this thing instead and just set the Red Rain. But unfortunately, this card does require very specific 2 tuners and 1 non-tuner monsters, so you can't just go into your Scarlight Red Dragon and then go into this thing afterwards. It doesn't really work that way. Alright, thankfully, because our opponent activates Dark Hole, even though we have, basically because we have another monster on the board, this extra tuner, I can use my Red Rain to banish my entire field and actually just keep this guy alive, because he's the highest level, he's immune to card effects, meaning the Dark Hole won't actually affect this guy. Which is why in a lot of these replays, you'll see I'll set up end boards where I could technically go into things like, in other replays, I could go into things like Bane if I wanted to, or even go into things like the Red Nova Dragon if I wanted to. But in general, if you keep 1 card on the field, it generally feels a lot better, because it means you can actually activate this trap card, so if your opponent has something like MST, and they MST this thing, or if they have something like Dark Hole, and they're going to remove your entire field, you can just use this in response, and at the bare minimum, you've just made your boss monster immune to all card effects for the turn. Alright. Hopefully that made sense. Alright, so he's going to summon out his Mech Knight. At this point, I could actually use my MST to pop this particular back row, so we'd have no columns to summon things in, but I'm kind of scared he has another spell card in hand or something. And even if he doesn't, I basically know if I'm able to hit the annoying trap card that would negate this card's effect, I'll probably just win the game, as you'll see in a second. So despite whatever he does here, I don't care too much, because this card has an absolutely crazy effect. I can summon out his Morning Star. Discard searching for the spell card, and passing over. As soon as my turn starts, I'm just going to activate a copy of my Tyrant, which will nuke the entire field. Literally everything on the field is about to go. So in response, he's forced to use his secrets, revealing where it is, so I can MST it, negating its effect, because it's a continuous, and that is his entire field deleted. Wildwind, discard, searching for a Resonator. We have a level 4 in hand, and yeah. By the way, I searched for the wrong Resonator there. Should have searched for the other one, but that's fine. There also might have been a point where I was only running 2 copies. Oh, I was actually running 2 copies of this still before I cut it. I'm not sure. Either way, doesn't matter. He was dead. All right, replay number 2. Alright, so this was a Raid Raptor replay, I believe. Not a super exciting one, because I'm pretty sure I just set up my end board and I realized that a Raid Raptor can't really play through 1 lot of disruption. Alright, Scarlight is also a pretty good card in this matchup. I'm pretty sure they have a couple of graveyard effects. Alright, so once again, sending the 2 cards to the graveyard, getting my Sprinter. Basically, this deck list, if you ever open 2 Fiends, you've got full combo. That's just how it works. Literally any 2 Fiends in your deck list, which is why we're running cards like Meister, because it is a Fiend, so it just kind of fills up that category. It's also why I'm running generally 12 monsters in this deck list. I feel like 12 monsters is a really good ratio to be able to get, majority of the time, 2 Fiends in hand. Alright, shuffling, getting home my Red Raid, and passing the turn. Once again, I could go into a Bane here if I like, since I do have the materials on field, and it would mean that if I top deck a monster next turn, I can tribute the monster to bring back the Scarlight Red, since it is treated as Red Dragon Archfiend when it's in the graveyard. But in general, I think it's better to keep an extra monster on the field for reasons like I said, where if they have an MST, I can still use the Red Rain in response, and at least make this card immune to all card effects for the turn. Alright. Summons a monster, banish it instantly, sets a card, pop that shit, and he's done so. Searching for a Wyvern, we still have 2 level 4s in hand, and yeah, it's over. Alright. On to our next replay. Alright. So this is probably the Dark... I think there was one Dark Magician duel. For some reason, a lot of people are still playing Dark Magician. I think everyone saw the new skill, it just hyped them up, so there's a lot of Dark Magician plays on ladder. Which is probably why I'm running a lot of copies of back row removal, since I'm running 3 MST and a Cosmic. Alright, once again, sending all the dudes, getting my search. Red Sprinter, bringing it back. Red Rising. Red Rising, summoning the tuner and the 2 other tuners from the deck. Gaining some life points. Synchro Summon into our Archfiend. Shuffle 1 from hand, 1 from on field. Get my Red Rain. Honestly, I feel like I should have shuffled this thing back into the deck list, considering this card's going to banish it, so I will no longer have access to this, and I'm only running 1 copy of it, so I should probably have shuffled this one back into the deck, but I don't think it matters too much. It really, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. Alright, he summons his Deneb. Sends a bunch of stuff. I'm going to MST one of those back row. Red Rain, popping the other card, basically because I know the this particular art type has a counter trap that needs this monster on the field, so without it on the field, he can't use it. Alright, pass it over, wandering Wildwind, and search for our Resonator. Summon it, we have a level 4 in hand, so we can special summon that. He then uses warning points on it, but at this point we don't care, because we can synchro summon into our Bane, then we can actually use Bane's effect to tribute this card to bring back a Red Dragon Archfiend, which this card, when it's in the graveyard, is in fact a Red Dragon Archfiend. Alright. Because we summoned a synchro, we can add the trap card back, and yeah, he knew it was dead. Alright, where are we up to? Actually, I have no idea where we're up to. I think we're on replay number 4. Could be wrong on this though, and I might have to cut this part out. Nope, this is bad. Alright, this replay's super quick. I just wanted to show this off to show off like the reason I'm still running Meister. Despite, because basically I just need a Fiend that was level 4, and running this card is really good for particular matchups like Phantom Knight. So going second, Phantom Knight have a lot of graveyard effects, but there's one very important one where if they don't use it, they're not getting their quick play spell, and they're not ending on their big negate dude, and basically they end on a field of just a bunch of beat sticks. They don't do anything. So you're about to see what happens. Alright. So he sends this dude to the graveyard, you're gonna banish it to draw a card, banishing this, getting a search, and blah blah blah, not negating any of these effects, there's only one effect we need to negate. Summoning a bunch of whole dudes, full combo. You can even go into the whatever it's called, Levier card. And as soon as he activates this card, we're going to negate it, because now he can't search for his spell card. And if he does get the spell card, all of a sudden his field is going to be worthless at the end of the turn. Alright, summons his Dark Rebellion. We'll play the animation. Why not? Showing off his insane goatee going on there. God damn, that's a goatee. Alright. And passing it over. So as you can see, this end board does actually nothing. It looks scary, but does nothing. MST, pop his back row. Roaring Soul, getting a discard, and yeah, he's just got to concede before we wipe his field, because we were going to wipe his field. Don't get it twisted. That dude was about to get absolutely smashed. Alright, final replay. I forget what this was against, but I remember it being a good one. Some dude role-playing as Black Queen without playing Black Queen. And it was a rank up too. Alright. Got a lot of going first replays here today. This decklist is quite fine going second, don't worry about that. It's just, depends on how many copies of MST you open and Book of Moons. Which, when you're running on 4 copies of, like, 3 MSTs and 1 Cyclone, you have a really, really high chance of opening back row removal. It's like something like 70 or 80%, so you should at least have one lot of back row removal most of the time going second anyway. And the only deck running around right now that's sort of scary in terms of setting up a board with like a negate or something is generally Phantom Knight, so running Meister does mean you're going second matchups are generally pretty good. And this deck does not struggle to set up insane fields, especially with, you know, Tyrant Red being on the field who can literally nuke everything. Okay, some this dude, I'm just going to Book a Moon it because he tried to go to end phase. For some reason he just refused to use any sort of back row or whatever it was to sort of target this guy. If he did, I would activate this trap card to make it immune, so it wouldn't have mattered, and I would have banished this card as well, meaning he would have completely lost. But he had a lot of things he could have activated here, he just didn't activate anything, which is odd. So it's MST his last back row, and yeah, he's just dead. Alright, that replay was a lot worse than I thought it was, but Whatever. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video, or these replays. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I still have a Time Lord video planned for tomorrow or the next day, so remember to like, subscribe if you want to see that. And yeah, without further ado, thank you guys for watching, and laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.